People are talking about Nepo babies. At least they were a few months ago. Maybe this is completely outdated, but it's a thing that's as old as time, right? An age old phenomenon. People look after those who are closest to them. It's kind of a reciprocal care model. If I hook you up, you might hook me up later, or you've got some established history with one another. So there's an obligation or an intent to help your friends and family. We all get that. Look at the big man, fucking Jesus H. Christ, Son of God, even got a job in the fucking family business, right? So goes to show no one's immune to this type of shit. But the question I beg is how different is the concept of family forever in the Fast and the Furious sense compared to egregious acts of nepotism that are lambasted in the media. When some Hollywood buffoon gives their child a cushy job, either in front or behind the camera, everyone's up in arms. What the fuck? Why are we dealing with this? Someone else who was perfectly qualified missed out on this job because we wanted the lineage, we wanted the same name. It's a better story if you just have kind of like the same last name but with a different first name. And it's kind of just intriguing. It's a curious thing for your mind, like to observe the passing of time. There's all these like young next generation of actors who I remember seeing their parents when I first kind of came of age, started watching movies in my teenage years, like Ethan Hawke's daughter and the one that's the most kind of on the nose is Cindy Crawford's kid, because she looks exactly like Cindy Crawford did in the 90s. She's fucking beautiful. And that's almost a bad example because it's like, of course, she should be in front of a camera as a model or an actress because what else is she going to fucking do? Um, but yeah, I don't know. In a weird way, it's titillating because you're like, oh yeah, I remember seeing the same lady 20 years ago. Now it's just the mole's in a slightly different place, but it's the same chick. Oh, so I kind of understand the appeal of why they do it. It fits your kind of internal narrative, or it's a curiosity. It's just like, oh, same story, slightly different person. But I don't know. I feel like it's there's a lot of hypocrisy when people call out nepo babies because it's like, aren't you hooking up your friends and family as we speak? Except you probably just don't have the same means that certain people do. And if you did one day happen to have the same means, you're a fucking oil tycoon in the Middle East or you were a Hollywood exec, you're gonna hook the homies and the home girls up, right? I know I am. It's just the way it goes. It's I think it's futile to question it because it's just basic human instinct to want to take care of people. There are certain instances where let's assume that you have a child and they are good looking and talented and they would, if they weren't related to you, they would be cast in a movie or a TV show. So it's kind of like, well, the connection there, maybe the door gets opened quicker, but it's like they can do the job. So go ahead and do it. So you understand why like Cindy Crawford's hooking her daughter up in that instance. But then it's also like if they suck, can't you fathom why they would try, like if they're just a shitty person or stupid, they're gonna struggle. Can't you imagine what it would be like to have a shitty kid and wanting to help them out? To be like, oh, okay, maybe if I just give them a leg up, I give them their first job, they'll be able to figure some shit out, work on themselves, and then they'll take the ball and run with it. Oh, that's what people are thinking, right? So that doesn't that maybe means we get a inferior movie or product. Even then you might question it because it's like, what do fucking actors do anyway? Maybe they can like edit around them. You have to really fucking suck. You know who sucks? The kid who played the main boy in Boyhood. He was fine in that movie, especially when he was younger, super cute little child actor. But towards the end of that movie, he looks like he'd smoked about 5,000 bongs. And then I saw him in some movie with Emma Watson. It was some like it was actually a novel. A friend of mine in Colombia who was reading it. The novel looked somewhat interesting. It was about a social media network going out of control, like some tech dude, some founder guy, you know, causing destruction in San Francisco. And he was in that movie, and I saw a tiny clip, and it was some of the worst acting I'd ever seen. So that was the situation where it was like he was fine as a child actor, but he doesn't seem like he's got the chops to continue. And that's why you don't see him in anything. But yeah, I don't know. At a certain point, it's like, why would you be getting angry about this type of stuff? And I think it does kind of like, if anything, it does lead to a good question where it's like, where does talent and famousness intersect? Because you take someone like fucking Elton John, right? Elton John has been famous for fucking 60 years. Like that is some fucking feat, right? And the way I see it is that it's like art and science. He's an extremely talented dude, but yet he's had the nous to go through different musical eras and work with the right people and have the right type of collaborators. And I'm sure there's been a bunch of PR people that have able to like keep his fucking name and his wig in the fucking your prefrontal cortex to somehow remember who he is. But yeah, and then there's other people, and you only remember, it's like a survivorship bias. You only remember the ones that made it. I remember when I was growing up, fucking NYPD Blue was a big show, and there were all these kind of like actors who were like, "Oh, this is the biggest show on TV." I was like, I can't think of any of those fuckers. Ricky Schroeder or some shit. But then you see another guy who was like of the same ilk as Ricky Schroeder on a similar type of show who managed to get lucky on another show, and he's still famous. And it's like, oh, of course he is. Once you're famous, it's impossible not to be famous. I beg to differ. I think it's good. You got to get lucky. You got to be talented. You got to continue to be talented. Like the Boyhood kid, he didn't have the chops to progress, so he falls away. And if you do have the chops to progress, you need like the right set of circumstances in the team to help you maintain your famousness. This kind of spiraled into a different topic here, but essentially what I'm saying is that I'm not surprised that these Nepo babies exist, because when we were growing up, when you're a kid, all the people that you saw were famous, you were seeing them as famous for the first time. But if you look into their lineage, they had fucking hooked up. Their parents hooked them up. And if they're a first generation breakthrough, then they try and hook the next generation up. It's like, that's the way it goes. That's the way life goes. The quicker you deal with that, the better everything's going to be. Not that I've really had many people railing against Nepo babies in my face as I walk down to the Kroger. Just fucking crazy homeless people complaining about Cindy Crawford and Ethan Hawke's children. Hasn't happened yet, but it may. All right, let me know your thoughts. Thanks for listening. Peace.